Bills Mafia. Are you ready? From North Carolina to Buffalo, the Mafia is united. This is your home for the passion, the power, and the pride of the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to Bills Mafia Carolina Takeover. Let's go, Bills.
Bills Mafia, welcome back after a huge win. And I want to say that when we did our pick section last podcast, Tim, you were off by 5 points on the Bills. I think you picked, I have to go back and listen to it, but I think you had 35-10. Is that right?
I guess it was something like that. I know it was like
I'm pretty sure one of us had 30, and we each had the Jets to be 10. I'll have to go back and listen to that pod, but man, that was close.
Yeah. I know I had them stomping them.
Yeah, I know. I had picked them 2 touchdown points going into halftime. So, but here we are, short week. Welcome back. So I know we talked a little bit about the score here, but let's start with you, Tim. What's the outsider's view of? Are we calling it a beatdown on the Jets?
It was what I thought the Jets were. You know, Justin Fields isn't that good a quarterback. Period.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you got a concussion, but it is what it is. Jets aren't that good, and he's not that good a quarterback. And the Bills, show what they can do.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I was a little nervous in the first part there. We've been talking for these past couple weeks on the podcast about the Bills starting off fast, right? I mean, that's kind of been your take on the Bills, and so I was a little worried about that. And boy, when they got out fast, real fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had mentioned, I think last week, James Cook really needs to break out, and
yeah, Cook looked good. I was worried about him going into the game because suppose he was injured, but now he looked good, and that's why you paid him.
Yeah, and there's already some chatter going around Bills Mafia right now that like the Bills got a steal for him because they waited and they didn't give him the $15 million that they want. And right now, I mean, that's looking like a steal.
We'll see. As far as the running backs goes, that's a debatable topic as far as paying the running backs. Hey, if he's helping you guys win, that's what you pay him for. So
yeah,
that's
what
matters.
And I thought Keon Coleman had a great game too. I know that we had talked about it. I think I talked to Adam in the Jets pod there last week on his show. I thought Keon Coleman had a breakout game, really starting to come along. Would you agree with that? Like you're really starting to see flashes.
Yeah, Keon Coleman always had the talent. It's just he's just putting it together, and that's usually what happens. Wide receivers, I know we've been with some of the receivers that have come out in the draft. It's not what usually happens, and what usually happens is they learn the first year, second and third years when they really step up to what they can be, and that's what's going on with Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Palmer really kind of showed a little bit last game, what he can do with it. Props to Mitch, right? Coming into the game. I mean, that's a gutsy ass call right there by the Bills on third down to have Mitch throw that ball to Palmer.
The one thing Bills have is they have Mitch Trubisky's. He's got plenty of experience, and he should be able to come in and do that every once in a while. You were a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
When you were in the draft. So guess what? The talent obviously has talent, and he should be able to come and spot start. Heaven forbid if Josh Allen ever goes out again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was really encouraging too. And then on the other side of the ball too, I thought that after the Baltimore game and the run game, and we talked about this heavily last week, Tim, about Henry and the run game there, but without Ed Oliver in the lineup, and apparently Matt Milano is hurt still with a pec injury.
Mm-hmm.
So I really thought that run game played really well. Run defense played really well.
Yeah, Yeah, the only thing I will say with the Jets, I would take that with a grain of salt for the simple fact being with Justin Fields being at quarterback, you're not really worried about him passing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can really go all out on the run.
One of the areas that I like too, and interested to get the outsider's opinion on this, Tre'Davious White, been a talk of the offseason. I thought he played really well. I thought both corners, Benford stepped in. TJ wasn't in the game, so I was a little concerned about that. Taron Johnson, but I thought Trey White looked like Trey White.
Trey White, first go around with the Bills, he was the top corner.
Yeah.
Injuries have hurt his career, obviously.
Yeah.
If he's working his way back to where he's starting to get closer to what he used to be, Trey White's a top corner.
Yeah.
But I mean, is he a shutdown corner? And this time in his career, probably not. But
Yeah,
if he could be a solid, I guess he would, solid number 2.
Yeah, I mean,
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, he is probably slotted in there as the number 2. It's going to be Benford at 1, Taron Johnson in the nickel, the slot, and then you've got, probably Trey White there on the other side. So that was really promising to see him. Now, obviously, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but next week you get into a whole different kind of. I know Miami's looking terrible, but they're more of a wide receiver heavy kind of a thing. So it'd be interesting to see Trey there, but. Give me your thoughts from the outsider point of view as far as Joey Bosa, because I thought he had played an absolutely outstanding game. Something I think the Bills Mafia has been wanting and needing since Von Miller came to the Bills. Like, that's what I feel like what Von should have or could have been.
Are we talking about the nose?
We'll get you see, I'm leaving that. See, the outsiders all like I mentioned when we invited the outsider in week 1. I told everyone that the outsider is going to keep Mafia in check, and he just did that right there. So I appreciate that. And we'll get to the nose. We'll get to the nose. I'm assuming you're talking about Josh Allen.
No, I'm talking about Joey Bosa.
Oh, okay.
Like, first of all, Joey Bosa has one of the biggest noses I've ever seen in my life on a person. But Joey Bosa, he's got talent and he wants to be here. And the nice thing is you got him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
He has a talent and he's playing for that next contract. So he's completely motivated to not only win here, but show what he can do. And Joey Bosa was the top defensive end before he got here.
Yeah.
It was just injuries hurt him as well. Now it's just it's a prove it. And he was younger. I know it was the same sort of situation with Von Miller, but Von Miller was a lot later in his career when he came over to us, where Joey Bosa technically would still be in his prime.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. Wasn't really. I'm not sure what to expect from Bosa. Obviously the health concern is a big thing. So I mean, it's still a long season, right? We're in we're getting into week 3, but if he could stay healthy and play he played like that, I believe in the past couple of years, that's been the downfall of the Bills getting over the hurdle with Mahomes, is having an edge rusher like that to do it. So if he could stay healthy and get to the whole season, I mean, that could be the piece we've been looking for.
You need pass rushers. You need not only with Joey Bosa, but Greg Russo's got to step it up even more. And honestly, Ed Oliver coming in the middle, is huge. And when you guys are worried about your secondary, because honestly, your secondary is an injury away from being really, really thin.
Yeah,
and you need that pass rush to protect those guys.
Yeah. And speaking of, it's a good segue there, Tim. Speaking of secondary, I know I've been on Cole Bishop really since we started this podcast here, but I got to give him props here. I thought he played really well. He had that nice blitz coming off the edge there, unblocked. So I thought he had a really, really good game, and hopefully it's something that we see progress as time goes on. But to your point as well, Bishop or Rapp goes down. Now you got Poyer on the practice squad, which is, again, and I mentioned this last week, was one of the reasons why I think the Bills got him, was not for a Michael Hyde kind of a thing, but Jordan Poyer is able to step in and play a few games. So, but yeah, you are right. The secondary is thin, and it certainly can hurt us here in the long run if somebody gets hurt.
Well, just especially with the corners.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
With Treyway having an injury history, and if he goes down for any significant amount of time, obviously that's going to hurt your secondary big time. But again, if the pass rush can protect you guys, you can get away with it.
That's true. Coming up next here, we've got Dave from Fins Up Fan that's going to come in and join us here. Also a season ticket holder of the Miami Dolphins, and he travels every home game, I believe. We'll ask him every home game from North Carolina to Miami. So we're going to get him in. He knows the ins and outs of Miami. The Dolphins, they're 0-2 and reeling. So I'd be really interested to hear his point of view of how that's going to work out. And we'll get him in right now.
All right, Mafia, it's time for The Other Sideline, where we bring in fans from the teams the Bills are facing this week. We get their perspective, their passion, and maybe even a little trash talk. So buckle up, because it's not just Bills Mafia in the house. It's game week, and the spotlight's on both sidelines. Let's go, Bills!
Welcome back to The Other Sideline, and I am here with a guest representing the Miami Dolphins, the Triangle Fins Club, Dave, who is here in the Carolinas, but also a season ticket holder, I think. Is that right, Dave?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Dave lives here in the Carolinas and goes down to the game every week. So really excited to have you on here, Dave. And thanks for coming in, Bills Mafia Carolina Takeover.
Yeah, man, great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yes, and it's a short week, so let's just dive right into this. I think, honestly, right off the bat here, you know, as a Dolphins fan, you're probably seeing this through all your media things here, but obviously on a national level, Mike McDaniel, hot seat talk there. What's the kind of the mood right now from Fins fans, from Dolphins fans right now about Mike and, the hot seat conversation?
Here's the mood, Owen. So Sunday, I get to the game. You're riding a high going to the game. You get parked. You're ready to roll. The first thing I see is a plane with one of those little messages behind it that says "Fire Greer, Fire McDaniel," and I'm like, okay. So people are paying money to advertise the firing of Greer and McDaniel at this point. So the mood is not great around McDaniel. Yeah. I think the fan base, at least 50% of the fan base, really wants the Dolphins to get pummeled by the Bills this week. So then we clean house on Friday, right? So that's what they want to see. And I mean, telling you the mood in the stands. I'm around a bunch of season ticket holders, and everybody's just fed up with it. I'm a little bit more of an optimist, where I'm like, hey, it's still only 2 weeks in. I feel like, yes, first week was horrible. Call it rust, call it unpreparedness, whatever you want to. Looked a little bit better against the Patriots. Give them the rest of the year, and playoffs are you're fired, right? Like, there's got to be a little bit more leeway. But I'd say in general, the tone is buy Greer, buy McDaniel, and buy Tua. Like, that's what a majority of this fan base wants right now.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Yeah, and it makes sense. I did see that banner fly over there as well. And what's interesting about it from, I think, a Bills Mafia standpoint, I know from me here, that hire by Mike McDaniels, I really, really like that. Obviously, he had, the new offensive mind and that kind of thing coming in there. So I really did like it. However, as time went on later on down the road, it just didn't seem like he may be getting the team, right? He may be, connecting with the players. Certainly, and to your point about the Bills blowing him out, which I don't think is going to happen, but we'll get to that later. But I do think if Mike doesn't pull this one off against Buffalo, and Tim and I talked about this earlier. That's kind of the time frame that I see the Dolphins make that switch. That way they get 10 days going into the next game.
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment across the board too. If they get blown out, I could see a wholesale change at that point. If they keep it competitive and it comes down to a crazy 60-yard field goal like last year,
Yeah.
and they're in the game, I think that, Stephen Ross might end up just sticking with them through the rest of the season.
Yeah,
It's,
that makes sense.
I think it's all how did it come out on Thursday? And to your point with McDaniels, yeah, man, he was that first year, get us to the playoffs. Second year, Tua was cooking. He's an MVP conversation. Obviously regressed last year, and then we're just off to another regression. Like, this team is not improving off the little things that we thought they would improve on, right? So year 4 in this offense, we're still having issues getting plays in. We're still having illegal shifts nonstop. We're having all these little stupid mistakes that you get the grace to a first or second year coach, but all right, now we're year 3, we're year 4, and all these little things are still happening, and they're just not cleaning up the little stuff that ultimately loses those games.
Yeah.
And it wasn't everything that was lost against the Patriots, or the only reason that they lost, but it's certainly those little mistakes compound. And as you know, 1 or 2 losses, that makes or breaks your playoffs,
Yeah, that's right. I think only 6 or 16 teams have ever made it to the playoffs going 0-6. I know 6 and 16 is a huge jump there, but you go 0-3. It's not an easy road to go there. The 0-2 start, though, I'm interested to hear kind of the Dolphin side of this. This 0-2 start to the season, I pinning this on Tua. Is it more defense? Is it Mike McDaniels?
So my opinion is it's the lines right now. Offensive line is just not helping Tua at all. Devon Chain is literally making he's got to miss 4 or 5 guys every single time to make any kind of gain. The offensive line is just getting bullied. The defensive line is not getting enough pressure. At least Chop and Chubb had a sack against the Patriots. Finally got some pressure on Drake May, but it all starts with the lines. And for whatever reason, it's brutal, and we've had an offensive. This is what leads back to Greer, because he's always talking about, you're more concerned as fans about the offensive line than we are. But every year, the offensive line it ends up being trash in some way, right?
Yeah.
So, and injuries have a lot to do with that. We already are missing our right tackle and starting right guard, but then that comes into Chris Gear takes a lot of shots on players that have had former injury problems, right? Which leads right to Tua. Tua, he's shown he can do it in this league when healthy, right? But, the big thing is staying healthy. The best availability is availability, right?
Exactly,
so we haven't seen that from Tua since 2023. But as of right now, I don't think you can pin this on one person. It's a complete team effort of 2 losses, right? Right down to you get a punt return for a touchdown. The next play, they get a kickoff return for a touchdown. Right. So now the special teams does something great, and then they come back and completely give the game away, right? Yeah. So it's just like we're beating ourselves. So to answer your point, it's not just one person. It's the entire team, which then would lead to, okay, you're the coach, McDaniel, you're the GM, Greer, you built this team, you guys are running the organization. Ultimately, it falls on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting point there, too, because, the weapons that Miami has, the Waddle, the Cheetah, Tim and I, we talked about it earlier on the show, just really an interesting dynamic that I feel like can be really explosive when it needs to, but from an outsider looking in, I'm not sure Tua is the guy there. So, if somebody else was in there, would this be a different looking team? If Tua doesn't get it done on Thursday, do you think they're making a QB switch there?
I don't think so. I think this is Tua's team for the rest of the year, unless for some reason we're sitting at 0-12 and they want to see what they got with Quinn Ewers. Yeah. I do not think Tua. He's shown he can do it, right? He's shown he can be a good player in this league. But to your point, Tua is so accurate, but you've got guys like Waddle and Hill that can outrun everybody. A lot of times you are going to see Waddle or Hill coming back to the wall because he doesn't have the cannon. He even talked about that today. I saw he was talking about how Josh Allen can just throw the ball farther than he can and run the ball better, right? So, like, he understands that too. And he's after the post game on Sunday, he had said, he told Hill, hey, I can't throw it that far. I can't just chuck it 60 yards. So you're going to have to look for the ball and spot it, right? So would the skill set match better with somebody like a Marvin Harrison, who maybe isn't a burner, Marvin Harrison Jr., versus these guys that are just burning down the field and then they got to come back for the ball? I think there is a bit of a mismatch where we're trying to go for speed when we have really a very accurate quarterback between that 10 and 25-yard range. He can throw the deep ball. He's shown he can throw it, but he can't do it consistently. There's something inconsistent about that. And I think that's just the biggest thing is, what Tua are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy that can sling it? Or are you just going to get the accurate guy? And it really is. Sometimes it feels like it's a week to week. What are we going to see?
Yeah. Now, I don't know how, there are some rumors out there that they may move on Tyreek, may trade him, stuff like that. So from the Dolphins camp, from that side, is there some truth to that, the Dolphins may be open to get rid of the cheetah?
You listen to the organization, and of course they're going to say no, not a chance.
Right.
Now, last game, Tua upset a lot of fans, right? Cheetah, when he just walked off the field and was just like, I don't want to be here anymore, basically, to paraphrase what he was saying. That didn't sit well with a lot of people, and a lot of the training camp offseason talk was Tua and Tyreek's relationship. Now, Tyreek's going through a lot of personal stuff, with his wife, ex-wife, and all that. So apparently he's been better with the team, but I don't think this organization or this fan base would explode like they would have a year ago if Tyreek was traded.
Okay.
I think they'll look at it as, all right, the reset is happening, and this is the next piece, because if Tyreek leaves, then it feels like that chess piece is going to fall to where Tua's gone, and it is just a complete rebuild at that point. So I do think that a trade could happen, especially if they start out 0-4, 0-5, which I still don't see that happening, but it's the NFL. Who the heck knows? But I could see that happening, absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, especially coming down here the next couple weeks. And it would be interesting to see if playoff contention is not there for the Dolphins, how they approach towards the end of the season or before trade deadline, for that matter, and see what they deal with that.
Well, let me say this as you being a Bills fan and your listener base, right? You don't want Miami to trade Tyreek because he's likely going to the Chiefs. Let's be honest.
So it's interesting, and I've had some comments on there. So my perspective, and we'll get into the game here, but my perspective is I think majority of the Bills fans probably agree that this is not going to be a jet game. Like you had mentioned earlier, we had to beat you with a 61-yard field goal by Bass last year. I just think the way that they did the front seven and the way the front seven is positioned right now with McDermott and how he did it. And I know Baltimore ran all over us, but I think with the addition of Joey Bosa and Tim and I talked about this earlier, really brings the pressure to the quarterback that the Bills have been lacking, in something that the Bills haven't been able to get over the hump with Mahomes. So I wouldn't be concerned if the Cheetah went back to Kansas City, just because eventually we're going to have to play those games, and it's just a matter of where you are in the season, injuries and those type of things. But certainly, look, the reality of the situation is the Bills are good right now. And so we're going to have to play good opponents. Like, we are going to play Baltimore. We're going to play Kansas City. So we're going to be playing these teams over and over. And so it's just what you do with the regular season. It's how you get the seeding. And then ultimately, making sure that Josh Allen is healthy, because without him, we're not anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's why he won MVP, because he truly is the most valuable player to a team. There is no doubt in my mind on that. I will say, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins would have the same record going into week 3, I would have took that, man. I would have been like, you know what? Couple 0-2 teams, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, last year, 61-yard field goal, Bass hits it there. So I'm curious to see what is kind of the key to Miami actually upsetting Buffalo here on Thursday.
Yeah, I think obviously you got to contain Josh Allen. I mean, he just, a third in anything, he can make it happen with his legs, with his arms. So containing Allen, getting a little bit of pressure on him. We've got to get the run game going. We've got to get some pressure off of Tua to that point. So seeing a Chan run the ball, get him some quick screens, just things to get him in space. And then hopefully with the short turnaround, I think you're going to see more carries from Ollie Gordon. He's a back that us fans really love. He is he's a beast of a guy. You give him the ball and he's always moving forward. And I think you're going to see him, obviously game script will dictate this a bit, but I think you could see him, a bit more in this game as well. So if we can control that line and run the ball, I think there's a chance, right? But we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. And it's interesting you bring up the run game there, because I love A-Train there. And I just, I know you got 2 weapons on the outside there, but would you say Dolphins are pass first, run second?
They want to be run first, pass second. The game scripts typically dictate that they need to throw the ball. That's the problem, right? So,
but last week they didn't get blown out, right? They were kind of in the game most of the time. So
yeah. And don't forget, they're one of the few teams with a fullback on the roster, right? So like,
Bills,
they want to run the ball. So it's like they want to establish that run game, and it kind of contradicts a bit of what McDaniel does being the play caller, where in an obvious run situation, it's like he's throwing the ball, right? Or even in game script, he might go a little more pass heavy, even though, again, they should be running the ball.
I know it's a short week, and obviously it's condensed, but do you expect the Dolphins to maybe to run, try to really get that run game going, even though the secondary, the Bills, isn't as. And we don't know about Taron Johnson right now, the nickel corner there, so that's going to be a huge loss if he doesn't get out there. But do you expect the Dolphins to try to run the ball more than maybe these last couple of games?
I do. I think, one, you want to keep Josh Allen off the field, right? So how do you do that, control the clock? We have not controlled the clock at all the first 2 weeks.
I think you had 6 minutes in the first half last week. Is that right?
And we were still in the game, right? So I think clock control is going to be a big part of the game plan, I would hope. Again, as the coach, knowing you're on the hot seat, you do not want to go in and have the Bills drop 50 on you, right? So control the clock. Let's get this game down to where it's winnable in the fourth quarter. Now, typically I might say, hey, the Bills, and you mentioned Joey Bosa earlier, he had mentioned the Ravens game felt like a Super Bowl, right? And then week 2, you go onto the Jets and you steamroll them. This could be that typical letdown game, but being that it's a division rival, I feel like these games are always down to that last play, that last drive. Who has the ball last? And I do feel like that's what we're going to get if the Dolphins can get any kind of semblance of a run game. If they can't to start it off, I think it's going to be a long night, and we might have a fresh reset on Friday.
Yeah, it's a great question about kind of like looking past. I was on Adam on New York Sports Wicker Media, his live podcast on YouTube last week, and that was a question that he brought up a few times with me about overlooking the Jets and getting to Miami a short week. And just like I mentioned to him on his podcast, being in McDermott, they have been in this organization for a while, and if you go back and look at and hear comments about all the players, not only McDermott, it is one day at a time. They're only focused on Tuesday, Wednesday, and into the game. So I do, I don't believe that there is ever an overlooking part, but I do believe on a short week, having the ability to not play a lot of the starters later in that Jet game for the Bills, and then now having to have it at home versus having to fly out Miami, I think that that definitely helps out more often than not in those situations.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
What do the Bills got to do to beat Miami? What does the Bills got to do to stop Miami from coming in here and trying to get an upset?
I mean, based on the last 2 weeks, they just need to lace up their shoes and show up, right?
Yeah.
Like, just take the field. No, but I mean, the Bills just play their disciplined football. You know, I think that's what it is. It's they're the better team. Nobody is disputing that. What are the Dolphins? 12-point underdogs.
Yeah, I think they're 12 now. Yep.
12 points on the road, a short week. I mean, the scales are tilted to the Bills in so many different directions that, you know, they literally have to go in and lose this game, right?
It only takes one, and the good news is it's early in the season. It's not week 12 or 13, so there's always an opportunity there. And I do think that the Bills are vulnerable in the back end, which is scary to me, especially if Taron Johnson can't play. I mean, Trey White played really well last week. You got Benford on the other side, but when you get into like your third cornerback, your nickel cornerback, then you get into the Cole Bishops of the world. And I know you haven't been, listening to the podcast here for a couple weeks, but Bills Mafia, I mean, that's our concern is the back end there. So it's really going to be interesting to see, the game plan from Miami, how they come out and approach and really get out in there. And I believe the Bills have to get out early. I said this last week and the week before, but, again, divisional opponent, get out early, put the score on the board, make them one-dimensional, and, we'll see what happens. If you have any other questions or anything like that regarding the fostering or anything like that, you can hit me up on the Bills Mafia CTO at gmail.com, and I will make sure I get it over to Dave. Bills Mafia, thank you, Dave, for coming in, and that was The Other Sideline. Thanks again to Dave from Fins Up there, season ticket holder of the Dolphins. Some good insight. Really excited to watch that game Thursday. Obviously, Tim, divisional game, short week. Even if it wasn't a short week, we're still talking divisional games. So these are always tough, right?
Yes, but Miami's horrible right now.
Yeah.
They're now it's still a divisional game, and Miami might get up, or they're gonna try to definitely get up for Buffalo. But unless you guys completely just give them turnover after turnover, you should absolutely stomp this team.
Yeah.
I think worse than the Jets.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. Can't wait to watch that on Thursday. And then hopefully your prediction will be right later on. So let's get into some Mafia mail.
Bills Mafia, make some noise. It's time for Mafia mail.
Already my favorite part of the show. I know it's growing on Tim, is the Mafia mail.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So this, let me pull this up here. So this comes from, and remember, if you, the Bills Mafia CTO at gmail.com, that's your connection to the show. Ask the outsider any questions and get your Mafia mail in. So this is from Jessica Turner from Marion, Ohio. No idea where that is, but thank you, Jessica, for tuning in and for sending your question. And she says, hey, Owen and Tim, love what you guys are doing with the show. The Bills had a quick turnaround from Sunday's game and now have to face Miami on Thursday night. How much of a factor do you think the short week will play, both in terms of player recovery and game planning? Jessica, great question. Tim, do you want to tackle this one first?
Sure. As far as game planning, these guys know each other. Mike McDaniel's been around for a while. So is McDermott. They know what they're gonna do, and it's pretty much the same teams that they've been playing the past few years. As far as sure, are they gonna make tweaks here and there? Sure they are. But they're fine. And they've been planning for this for weeks. As far as the recovery time, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's in the beginning of the season. Now, if this was mid-season, it definitely could hurt some people as far as this. For the most part, I think Bills came out of the Jets game pretty healthy. So, just rest up and wait to put a little whooping on the Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, good question, Jessica. So, how much fat do you think it'll be short week? So, yeah, to Tim's point here, Jessica, divisional game. And look, the situation is that Sean McDermott and the Bills have been game planning this last week and probably into Baltimore. A lot of times I get questions why there's so many assistant coaches, and a lot of them, what they do is they prep for the upcoming game. So they have already prepared a game plan probably last week on this game here, with it being a short week. And really, they're just going to go in there and kind of fine tune it. Obviously, get Josh's input on a lot of stuff. So I don't necessarily think that they're game planning it today. It's probably been done. And to your point, Tim, you see this team, twice a year. Nothing's really changed. I guess that's a good point. Like, it's the coaches have been the same, the players have been the same. So the scheme there. I think a lot of the players that didn't play last week, like, I think Taron Johnson could go out there, but they're probably holding him off because it's a different schematic offensive team against Miami, probably more the passing. So those are the little chess pieces that they're probably playing here. Recovery wise, this is also another great question, Jessica. So the fact that the Bills were basically blowing out the Jets, and I'd be interested to hear what you say on this, Tim. The fact that they were blowing them out, they were able to sit starters like early in that fourth quarter. Certainly Josh Allen, Cook, a lot of those starters sat. So that is a benefit to the Bills, I think, versus Miami, who had to really slug it out in heat. I know everyone talks about heat, but slugs it out in heat, and they really had to play the full game. So those
That's
starters resting, I'm sure probably helped out as well. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because Miami had to go down to the last second and do what they can. They still came up short.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as that, if you want to break it down to that point, yeah, absolutely. Bills are in theory more healthy than Miami's going to be going into the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're not sure about Matt Milano. He's got a pec, so that appears to be game time. Then you got Taron Johnson. It's not official or whatever. So there's going to be obviously some injuries, but Jessica, that's going to be normal for any team that's on a short week going in from a Sunday to a Thursday. It's just the nature of the beast. But I certainly think the edge, whether the game was played on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, the edge is still with the Bills. And the fact the Bills don't have to travel on a short week, a lot of people forget about that. They get their own facility for the short week. That's a huge play as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for sending in your question and tuning in from Marion, Ohio, which I'll have to look on a map where that is. But thank you. And don't forget to send in your questions to Tim the Outsider or the Mafia Mail.
And that closes out this week's Mafia Mail. Always love hearing from the family. Now, back to the action.
All righty, so Miami Bills, real quick, Tim, your X factors for this game.
Shutting down Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Yeah.
It just making sure they don't go have some big plays on you. But what I've seen lately, I'm not really worried about that. But I mean, Bills just play their game. With play the way they've been playing the past 2 weeks, they should absolutely dominate Miami.
Yeah. Any concern from the Bills' offensive side of the ball?
As far as Bills offensively,
Yeah.
not
Against
really.
this Miami defense.
Not really, because they say Drake May is like the poor man's Josh Allen.
Well, we're not playing Drake May.
And that's my point. Now they're getting the full-blooded Josh Allen. And my Bills are just better on offense than I don't think Miami can stick with them, period.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. My X factor here is, like, look, the Dolphins had played the Bills well. Even last year, it came down to, I think, a 61-yard field goal by Bass to win it. So, and I know Tyreek has, said that in several times to media this week about that. The situation is that they come in and they play hard. I do think on a short rest though, and being at home in Buffalo, I think does help. And the reality of the situation is the Bills are way better than the Dolphins right now. So I mean, I just think offensively, if we're seeing James Cook like we saw last week, he's pretty much unstoppable. And so I really don't see any issues on the offensive side putting up points. I think the defensive side is going to be interesting. I'm really excited for Bosa here because again, we talked about the pass rush. We really haven't had it, and if you watch any of that Miami game, the pass rush gets to Tua, and it gets there early. It disrupts the whole thing. With
Absolutely.
Cheetah and Waddle, it's a timing thing with Tua, and so that's going to be a key to my defensive side of the ball. Can the Bills 4-man rush get there upset the timing of those cornerbacks? Because one of those guys is going to get their yards. The Cheetah or Waddle's still going to get the yards, but to your point, you can't let them both do it. So my key of the game on the defensive side is definitely getting to Tua early and getting that timing offset there.
Agreed.
You want to go ahead and give it? Yeah,
Agreed.
go ahead.
You got to get that pass rush going because you got to protect those, protect the corners.
Yeah.
And honestly, Tua's not playing well, and if he's got pressure, he's not gonna.
Exactly.
He's gonna, totally what you're saying is just get that timing off.
That's right. That's right. You want to go ahead and give a score?
Since I was so on top of it this past time.
From the dome.
Let's see. I'm gonna say 33 to 10.
Wow. So the Bills have already put up, I think, 78 points, and then you're going to add another. So they're already going to put up over 100 points in 3 games. That would be awesome.
Hey, you got to stick with Baltimore. Baltimore put up another 40.
Yeah,
this
that's
past
true.
week.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout here. I do believe it's going to be. I don't want to say relatively close, but definitely not that. I'm going to go. I do think Miami gets some points here. So I'm going to go 35-24. 35-24 is where I'm going to go here. It's going to be a little bit closer just from past experience of that. So that's
okay.
Yeah. So
he's scared. He's scared. It's supposed to be swish the fish.
Yeah. Squish the fish. That's right. There's your X factors. All right. Now it's time for the weekly picks for Tim. You know the thing. Tim picks them. Does not know who I'm going to give. He picks them off the top of his dome. And
what was my record last week? Do you even know? You weren't even top of it.
Yeah. So Carolina, you had Carolina.
I took Carolina.
I mean, you had Arizona.
Yeah, about to say I did not take Carolina.
Yeah, and so before we begin, here's what Tim did last week. He had the Cardinals, which won. You also had the Bears. You lost the Giants.
Yeah, that was a heart pick.
Yeah. You also had the Patriots over the Dolphins, and I believe you also had the Bengals over the Jags.
Yes.
There you go. So you did good. You
3 and 5 is 3. I should have done better. I did. The Giants was a heart pick.
Yeah.
But actually that game went in overtime, so I was close to being right.
Yeah. All right, here we go for the next week here. Let's go Commanders Raiders.
Commanders Raiders. So I am going to go with the Raiders. One of the biggest reasons why Jaden Daniels is got a sprained knee right now, and there's a good chance he's not playing this week.
Yeah.
So I definitely am going with the Raiders.
Yeah, I'll go there too as well with you. Obviously the quarterback situation in Washington is going to be, the big question mark going into that. So I'll pick there. We keep it in Carolina as always. Falcons, Panthers.
Falcons. I like where the Falcons team is going. I like their youth movement. I think Penix is getting into his own, and Bijan Robinson's turning into, if not the best, one of the best running backs in the league.
I'm gonna go Panthers here. I just think they're close in some cases, so I think the Panthers get it done here. Give a little hometown spirit to them, but I think they get it done there. Steelers, Pats.
Steelers Pats. I think this is going to be a really close game. Because I do not. I'm going to have to give the edge to Pittsburgh, but slightly. I would not be surprised if the Pats won, but I'm going to say Pittsburgh's going to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you here. I do like Pittsburgh. I think they're a better team in the sense of more veterans there. So, I've always liked Mike Tomlin. So I'll go with the Steelers as well. And then the final one, Chiefs Giants.
Chiefs Giants. After the past 2 weeks, there's no way I can say the Giants are going to win. Do I want the Giants to win? Yes, I do. But
so the KC gets off the losing streak.
Chiefs are probably going to win.
All right, there you go. Those are Tim's weekly picks. We'll check them out next week. All right, Bills Mafia. So once again, it is a short week. We thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Tim, the Outsider, as always, for joining us. And remember, if you have any questions for Tim, the Outsider, or you want to hop into the Mafia mail, like Jessica did from Ohio, you can email us at billsmafiacto@gmail.com. And also make sure you check us out on YouTube for any past episodes, as well as Spotify. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to those so you won't miss any episode. We also want to thank Dave from Fins Up, season ticket holder Miami, who lives here in Carolina, for joining the show and giving us a recap. And as always, be good, do good, God bless, go Bills.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Bills Mafia Carolina Takeover. Thanks for tuning in and repping the Mafia with us. Don't forget to subscribe, drop your Mafia mail, and join us next time as we bring the passion, the pride, and the power of the Buffalo Bills straight from the Carolinas. Let's go Buffalo.